Okay, thank you, Jody, for a wonderful introduction. It's really a pleasure to be here tonight and talking with all of you. Integrative medicine is really my passion. And so for those of you who are maybe not familiar with it, it involves incorporating the best of complementary and alternative therapies in conjunction with Western medicine. So one of my favorite alternative modalities is Ayurveda, which is the traditional medicine from India. So I'm going to be talking about that during my presentation. So we're here tonight to talk about digestion. It's not exactly the cocktail hour topic, if you will, but if you ever come to see me in clinic, I'll talk to you about your digestion because it's really the cornerstone of health in both, I believe, Western integrative medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. In Ayurveda, they actually believe that good digestion is good health, but their conception of digestion is much broader, not just physical, but also mental and emotional digestion, because in a way, digestion is really how we process and absorb and integrate everything that we experience, not just the physical side, but mental, emotional, and spiritual, and that's where the Ayurvedic perspective comes in. Every patient I see almost always has some sort of digestive imbalance, even though they may not be talking to me as if that's a problem or a complaint. When I find out more history, usually there's typically some type of either indigestion or pain or bloating or constipation. Again, I know these are not the most sexy topics that are there, but really integral to digestion. So I wanted to start by presenting a case of a patient I saw in clinic. This is a 43-year-old woman who came to me with severe migraines every month for the past 8 years. So she had never gone a month in the last 8 years without having a migraine. They were pretty debilitating. She also had pretty severe eczema, so she had a rash that was very severe and would flare up during her menstruation every month. She also was quite fatigued and had some difficulty sleeping. So she didn't say anything about her digestion, but when I probed, she mentioned that she had some constipation, some bloating, and just some poor digestion. Nothing that would be considered a disease, but in my view, that's very important. So her main issues were the migraines, the eczema, fatigue, insomnia, and the digestive issues. So when I evaluated her, I assessed her Ayurvedic body type. So in Ayurveda, there's a belief that every person is unique and has an individual body type or constitution. And I'll talk more about this later, but hers was what's called the Vata body type, which you can loosely think about as wind. And her doctors had been telling her to, stay hydrated, and so she was drinking lots of iced water throughout the day. And I'll talk about why that's not good from an Ayurvedic perspective, but she was just living on ice water and eating lots of salads. So, so most people think salads are good for you. And most of the time they are, of course. But in certain body types, it may not be the best thing to eat in excess of salads. And for this patient, it was actually not actually too helpful. So, she thought she was doing the best thing for her health by having tons of salads and tons of ice water to stay hydrated, but that was actually probably doing her some harm. So I did some blood work on her. She had a little bit of a low thyroid hormone. Her T3, which is one of the thyroid hormones, was low. At our integrative medicine clinic, we typically do a very comprehensive thyroid assessment, which involves 8 different tests of the thyroid. So when you go to most physicians, they typically order 1 or perhaps 2 tests of the thyroid. So we typically do 8 tests of the thyroid to get a really comprehensive picture. And only one of them was abnormal. It was her total T3, but it was quite low. And if we hadn't done all those tests, we probably wouldn't have, have diagnosed that. So I think that was definitely contributing to her her fatigue. So basically, she had this excess vata or wind and low thyroid. So what I did for her was I put her on an Ayurvedic treatment plan. And if you think about vata or wind as having the qualities of wind, so what are the qualities of wind? So wind is cold, wind is dry, wind is light. And so my goal was to put her on a diet that had all of those opposite qualities. So focusing on warm foods, focusing on heavy foods, focusing on moist foods, and telling her that the ice water was actually, very bad for her digestion. So one of the main concepts in Ayurvedic digestion is the concept of Agni, or digestive fire. So the Agni, if you will, is your innate digestive capacity, and that's something that it's very important to have a strong Agni, a strong digestive capacity for good health. And cold liquids or foods, especially iced water, is very weakening to the Agni. So it weakens the digestive capacity, and that's one thing that I told her to avoid. Also with the salads. So salads are very very drying, and for a person with excess vata, it's actually not a good idea to eat salads. So I told her to switch to eating cooked vegetables, and exclusively eating cooked vegetables. No salads, cut out the ice water. And I also started her on an Ayurvedic herbal regimen with an herb called ashwagandha. So just a quick show of hands, how many people have heard of ashwagandha here? Okay, so of course everyone at the Institute for Health and Healing has heard of it, since I prescribe it so much. But ashwagandha is an herb that is very effective at balancing the adrenal and thyroid hormones. It's very good to support the thyroid. It helps with stress in general, and also specifically with low energy levels, insomnia, those kind of things. So I started her on ashwagandha, and then I also started her on an herb called triphala, which is an Ayurvedic herb that helps with detoxification. So triphala is a very gentle detoxifying herb that can be taken every day, and it helps with removing toxins from the GI tract. So this was my patient that I started her on this program, and I saw her back in 2 months. And at the follow-up visit, she said that she had gone without migraines for the first time in 8 years. And also, so she had had 2 months without migraines, for the first time in a really long time. And also her rash was better by about 50% or so. She was sleeping a little better, and her energy levels were improving as well. And most importantly, her constipation had resolved pretty quickly once she had stopped eating the salads and the cold water and followed the Ayurvedic diet for balancing vata. So I did a blood test, and her thyroid hormone had come up to 122 from 80. Without hormones, without drugs, over 50% in just a couple of months. So that's the real power of diet and herbs and Ayurveda. So in Ayurveda, I should mention that low thyroid is considered a digestive problem, mainly because the Agni is typically always very low, and Agni is a metabolic equivalent, and the thyroid, of course, is the main metabolic gland in the body. So at the second visit, I put her on an elimination diet to try to eliminate some sources of food allergies. So that's another important thing in digestive health is we all know about the traditional food allergies where you say eat some shellfish and then you get rash or swollen lips or something like that. There are actually two different kinds of food allergies. Those are known as IgE mediated. And there's also IgG-mediated food allergies, it's the name of the antibody. So the typical skin prick allergy test, which most of us have, tests for the IgE allergies, but the IgG allergies can only be detected by a blood test that is considered alternative still at this point, mostly. But those foods can cause reactions 2 days or sometimes 3 days after ingestion, so it's a lot more subtle, and it's still very important in cases of eczema, which this patient had, and since her rash was improving, I wanted to evaluate what food allergens might be contributing. So this food allergy test is not covered by insurance, so my patient didn't want to do it. So I just put her on an elimination diet, kind of eliminating the most common food allergens. Gluten, of course, which is a whole lecture in itself. Gluten, soy. I had her eliminate red meat, corn, and dairy. And basically, I just was preparing her for doing more detoxification and cleansing because I could tell from looking at her tongue that she had a lot of toxins in her system. The tongue is one area that Ayurveda uses to diagnose, what's going on in someone. And detoxification is very important as a regular preventive activity for our body. Just like we take our car to the mechanic for oil change and change the air filter and everything every 6 months. Ayurveda believes that regular cleansing and detoxification and oil changes for the body are required as well. So I saw her back once after that, and her eczema was almost gone. She still had maybe 10% of the symptoms, but her rashes were greatly reduced, and she was continuing to feel more energy and more sleep. And sleeping a lot better. So that's just a very brief case to illustrate how I work with somebody using Ayurveda and integrative medicine. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some tips for maintaining a good digestion from the Ayurvedic perspective. So we talked about the importance of the Agni, or the digestive fire, and how it's very important to maintain a healthy digestive fire. So you won't have to memorize any of this because this is in the packets, which you guys will all receive. But let me go over some very simple tips for maintaining a strong Agni and a healthy digestive fire. So Ayurveda really focuses on daily routine. So a lot of these things are very simple, very straightforward. One thing that you can do is not having liquids with meals. So this is a very, kind of common sense thing, but having liquids either, 15 minutes before meals or an hour after meals is believed in Ayurveda to be much better for your digestion. Also, liquids should generally be warm. Foods should also generally be warm. With the exception of, if you're having a salad or something raw, it's suggested to balance that with warming spices, like a ginger, dressing, or some type of maybe a spicy dressing, some oil to counteract the qualities, balance the qualities, the drying qualities of the salad. One other thing that's recommended is when you wake up in the morning, actually having a glass of hot water is believed to be very healthy for your digestion. It's also recommended to use a tongue scraper. So for those of you who don't know, this is a very simple, metal apparatus, if you will, that you just clean your tongue with that. And the reason for that is it's believed that the tongue is the microcosm of the entire digestive tract, which is why an Ayurvedic physician looks at your tongue to, understand better what's going on in your body. So by putting pressure and cleaning your tongue, from the back to the front, you're actually stimulating and waking up, if you will, your whole digestive tract every morning, and it's recommended to do that. Let's see what else. It's very important to be aware and mindful of food when eating. So in today's society, most of us we eat, in the car, or we're standing, or watching TV or other things. It's really a strong belief in Ayurveda that your mental state when you're consuming food really affects how your body absorbs food and how your body digests food. And it's very important to chew the food thoroughly, bring real awareness to the textures of food, to the taste of food. Try not to have too many distractions there, and you can enjoy the food and also the company that you're sharing the food with, hopefully. Couple of other things to mention, and then we'll have some time for a discussion with questions and answers. So incorporating spices into your diet is another very effective way to stimulate the Agni, especially cumin, coriander, and fennel. So all spices in general are good for the Agni, but what's unique about these three in particular is that they don't aggravate the pitta, which is the fire, if you will, in the body. That they stimulate your Agni and your digestive fire without overheating the body and causing other disturbances. So those three spices are very highly regarded in Ayurvedic medicine. having ginger tea. Ginger is another one that's a little more heating, but the benefits of strengthening the Agni are very significant if you're able to incorporate some ginger tea into your diet. And the the last thing I'll mention is the food known as khichdi, which has anyone heard of khichdi here? Oh, okay, so people have. So basically, this is one of the foods in Ayurveda that's considered very healing and very strengthening for the digestive fire. It's basically a blend of rice and a kind of lentil known as a mung bean and certain spices. And that's pretty much it. There's a simple way to prepare it, and it's very nutritious, it's very easy to digest, and it kind of it strengthens the Agni or digestive fire while giving your body energy to do other things and work on rebalancing. So khichdi is often recommended during fasts from an Ayurvedic point of view, where you're just having very light foods and possibly some khichdi. And anytime you want to improve your digestion, for a while, or strengthen your digestion, you can just have khichdi for a few days, and that by itself will have some therapeutic value. So the last thing I wanted to mention in terms of the view on digestion is going back to the mental and the emotional aspect of digestion in Ayurveda. So when I was talking to this patient as well, who was coming in with the thyroid and the migraine issue, I found that there was a lot of actually marital strife that had been going on, and her relationship was actually a big source of stress for her. And she found a pretty strong correlation between arguments that she would have with her spouse and flares of her symptoms. So I spent a bit of time really talking to her about that, and about seeking maybe some counseling, and also about working on the communication with her husband, and really addressing that in some depth. And she was able to do that over the few months that I saw her, and I think that also contributed to helping her overall health. But Ayurveda believes that there's a physical Agni that digests the food that we eat, but there's also a mental and actually a spiritual Agni that digests your experiences, that digests your daily life, your interactions with other people. And just like if you don't digest your physical food properly, there are toxins that are made. If you don't digest your mental experiences, properly, there are emotional, more subtle toxins in the form of unresolved emotions, emotional stress, anxiety, those kinds of things. And there's no doubt that those have a big impact on health. So by addressing that as well, I think we were able to help her feel better overall. So I covered a lot of ground. I wanted to mention that everything that I've said is in this handout, which is in the packets that you all will be getting. And thanks for your attention, and looking forward to a good discussion with questions. Yeah.